Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/thenerdcore. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Hello, nerds. You're listening to an episode on the Nerdcore podcast feed. If you're feeling generous, please consider pledging to a tier on our Patreon at patreon.com/thenerdcore. We have tiers as low as $1 per month. Thanks so much, and enjoy the episode.
Listening to the Impaired Files with me, the Nerdy Chicano, and this is episode 14. And today I'm very honored to be talking to Miss Suswana Chowdhury, and it's going to be a really, really fun one. Miss Suswana here is a friend of Miss Amanda Digman, who we had the chance to talk to a while ago. So, by the graces of the wonderful Amanda Dingman, I was able to set up this interview right here, and we are going to be able to get into this in a little bit. But Suswana, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know I just asked you that, but they haven't heard it.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. By the way, is this your first time doing a podcast or anything of this sort?
No. So I had a mini run with a podcast of my own a few years ago. I did about, I think, 5 episodes. And before that, I was a guest on my mentor's podcast.
Yeah. Why'd you stop?
The logistics of it weren't working out for me in terms of, setting up the podcast recordings with guests. It was, I wasn't finding like the best solution to either schedule them in a way that fit with my schedule, or, just, I was also like, I preferred being in person with the guests.
Yes.
And so the cost of like renting out a studio every week was just too much.
Yeah. Well, now it's easier with Anchor. Anchor.fm, they're a wonderful platform that makes it super easy to make a podcast. So, I've already pitched you, you and Amanda doing like a comedy-based type of podcast because you guys are freaking hilarious.
Yes. Amanda has been talking about it, and we are seriously considering it. So.
Yes. Well, I am glad to be talking to you. Miss Suswana Chowdhury over here is a filmmaker, and a wonderful one at that. And Suswana, I believe you have a charity gala that is happening soon. Would you like to promote that for a bit?
Yeah, sure. I would love to.
Yes.
So the gala is on December 5th. This is the 3rd year we're doing it. And basically it's benefiting an organization called WE, W-E. They are based out of Canada, but their work is global, and they're focused on developing a holistic, sustainable program that will, take families out of poverty and, build opportunities for them. And so they're focused on water, alternative income, education, health, amongst other things. And the pillar for me that resonates the most with me is education, because I really believe that with the access to education, you can open the doors to a lot more. And there's also just proven statistics that, just an extra year of education for any child will decrease the mortality rate. It'll increase wages for them. And so I'm really dedicated to that cause. And so in 2017, I partnered with the charity to start building schools in India. And this is the 3rd year that we're hosting this annual gala, and we're super, super excited. We're doing it in Brooklyn, New York at the Dumbo Loft, and tickets are on sale.
Yes. So And you're also working on a new short film called, I don't want to butcher the name, so you go ahead and do it.
It's called Dawat.
Dawat? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. And that is coming soon, I believe, right?
Yeah, so we have our premiere on November 3rd
November 3rd.
in Queens, and we're super excited for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. November 3rd. I'll go ahead and try to set you up and get you on the main show so we can talk about that short film. And
Okay, yeah, that'd be amazing.
yes, yeah, we can go ahead and do that. You have any screeners or anything like that?
So we have a proof of concept that we had released earlier that's available publicly on Vimeo, and
Yeah. Oh, that's the one I watched already. Then yes, okay. Then
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we are still in the final stages of post-production. We're working with our composer, and we actually have a singer-songwriter creating an original song for us. And so, once that's done, we'll be able to distribute materials for screeners.
All right, awesome. We'll bring you on to the main show. We'll talk about this film because we love talking about shorts and we love talking to filmmakers on that main show, just like I love doing it here. And so I what's it called? I was watching a video back then with Amanda from Amanda's channel, and Suswana was in that video, and I told Amanda on our interview. I'm sorry, on our interview we did that. I was really interested in you. You're this like sunshine that just pops. And I said that it's amazing to see a woman of color with such confidence and poise on that screen, and it's an amazing thing to see. Not what's it called? Not a lot of content creators want to put that out there, and Amanda was straightforward and put that out there, and I was like, I got to get this girl on the show. I got to get her. There's no fucking way I don't do this. Like I gotta talk to her.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And yeah, I mean, Amanda is one of the dopest human beings that I have the pleasure of knowing and being friends with. And she's super supportive, and I'm really blessed to have her in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just want to say, I'm glad that I have you here, and the show's a little bit different. I don't like doing a straight up interview. I think that's rather boring. I like kind of
sure.
I like kind of a conversation, and I want to have a conversation with you, and I want to go back. I want to go ahead and go and explore back to those roots. So, where did you get that love of film from?
That level of, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Where'd you get that love of film from?
Oh yeah, so since I was young, I've always been in love with media, and I always thought I wanted to be a journalist, and I've always wanted to give a voice to people who may not have the privilege or ability to voice themselves. And so I thought I was going to travel the world with the New York Times as an investigative reporter and uncover those stories. And I was going to do traditional print journalism, and that is still sort of kind of what I want to do. I still want to travel the world and find those hidden stories. But basically, in high school, towards the end of high school, is when I started playing around with video, and I also was taking media study classes that, really opened my eyes to understand how influential the media industry is to our perspective, and just the power of the visual medium. And so I really, really got into it, and I decided that I wanted to be on the side of the gatekeepers to be able to allow more information in. And so that's when I sort of switched to doing more video. So yeah.
And if I'm correct, the first narrative you actually put up on your Vimeo. I watched that, and I watched everything on your Vimeo page. The first one is sin or naive curiosity.
Yeah, that was a video art piece, which I do a lot of. So I do a mix of journalistic pieces, of short documentary kind of style.
Yeah.
I also do the narrative, scripts. And then I do like sort of experimental video art pieces.
Yeah. Well, I like that.
Where I get to sort of just experiment. So yeah.
I like that. You don't really like stick to one thing. You're really like experimenting with everything you want to do. I think that's really interesting. I think that's ballsy. It's ballsy. Most people want to just stick to one thing and do that for the rest of the time. But you're kind of like, no, I want to experiment with it all. I don't want to take it all. I want to take it all in. And I was gonna say, so you're saying that you've always had a love for the media, and you really, high school was those transformative years where you really start to get into the grasp of it all. And so, I'm sorry if I didn't ask, but where are you from? Like, where are you from here in the United States?
So, I was born and raised in New York my entire life.
Wow.
So I haven't left. I've also haven't left Queens. This is my borough. I've moved around in Queens, but this is basically I went to school all throughout my life in Queens, except for when I went to college with Amanda. That was in Manhattan. But yeah, born and raised native New Yorker.
Awesome. And that must be an amazing experience to be growing up in a city where there's so much creativity going on every single day. So that must have had some sort of influence on you when you were growing up too.
Oh, 100%. I mean, my entire family is also just in the creative field. And then, energy attracts energy. So a lot of my friends are also creatives, and it's incredible to see what they're doing. And of course, Broadway's right here, and to, see these live stage plays all the time is just an incredible feeling.
So it's safe to say that you had a lot of support from your parents when you told them, like, this is what I kind of want to do.
Yeah. So, I think for most Bengali parents and maybe even a lot of just, the traditional immigrant household, the feeling is that, they want you to do something that, has more financial security, because they want you to have a better life than they did.
Yeah.
But for me, my dad actually is a journalist, and so it wasn't a surprise, or it wasn't like, oh my God, like, why would you want to do journalism, or why would you want to do film? It was more like, okay, well, if you can do it, then do it. It was more of like, put your 100% into it.
Yes.
And make it all the way. So yeah.
Yeah. Completely a different situation over here from me. Same here with my parents. My father was an immigrant. My mother born and raised on the border, but her mother grew up in such poverty that it was, hard to get out of. So, and I'm not Bengali, but I am Latino, so yep. It's a little bit of a difference there, but pretty much the same thing, with the parents. So I can kind of understand that. So yeah. So father, they really wanted me to study something that was that would get me a little bit of a financial security, but turn a 180 on them on that. So, but it's amazing to hear that you always had the support from your parents.
Yeah. I mean, it's we still had our moments where
there
would be some pushback, but for the most part, there has always been. I've been lucky to definitely have had more support than most people do. I basically transform my house into a studio like all the time, and I move all our furniture around and I actually filmed the short film that was in my house. So yeah.
Awesome. So you're very much like a guerrilla style filmmaker. You know, you really just go into the place and just start filming there. You don't really like, right? Let's go ahead and find locations. No, you're just like, let's go deep. Let's just go. If I can use my house, I can use my house.
Yeah, I'm definitely very much about utilizing resources as best as possible.
That's
I
fucking
think,
badass.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm a producer, so that's just my mentality. But yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking badass. You're a badass. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, sadly, I do not have a Snapchat, so I'm not able to see the content you make on that because I know that that's kind of where you do a lot of your stuff too. But I'm pretty sure it's just as cool as the stuff as the amazing confidence and poise you show in all those videos that you're in with Amanda.
Yeah, Snapchat is definitely one of my favorite platforms. I know that it's sort of been dying out a little with Instagram's competition, but I still love it because I think it's just a space where it's me and people I trust, and I'm totally myself, and I speak my mind. I do sometimes the weirdest things where I'm literally in my house, I'm running in place, and I'm delivering some sort of monologue. Why am I running? No idea. Makes no sense. But I just am, and people love it because it's just I'm unafraid to be my whole self.
That's amazing, and that's why I wanted you here, because that's not a common thing that people want to do. You're over here, you're just like, I want to be myself, and fuck anybody who doesn't like it. Basically that's just who I'm gonna be. And the world, I'm giving you who I am, and if you don't want it, then go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I think you only have one life, so why waste it trying to be someone else?
Yeah. So I took a little trip down your filmography that you have on Vimeo, and I was really interested to dissect a couple of themes in here. So you concentrate a lot on themes that I'm very interested in myself. So of course, identity, a big one. Yes. I think most communities of color would concentrate on identity. It's one of the most important things. Culture, it makes who we are. And the next one, it's very interesting as well. Sexuality and relationships and love in general. You seem to be concentrating a lot on that as well, and very much. Also, then the one you sent me, the one that's on sexual harassment. I really like the whole look of that film, and I like the whole setting of it. I like that you did it in the subway. So you cover a broad amount of topics. Have you always been interested in these topics, or were there stuff that you kind of grew to be interested in when you started getting out of high school, going into college?
Yeah. So identity is definitely one that I got more into in college, beginning of college. Yeah. Because that was sort of the time period where I actually really, was at a place in my life where I was starting to explore my own identity and, living in the hyphen between being Bengali and American. And I had always been connected to my roots and participated in my culture, but I never really thought about how does this fit into my quote unquote American life. And so that's when I really sort of went like, focused in on those identity pieces, and I do a lot of that work still now. And with love, I sort of always have been obsessed with the concept and idea of love. Since I was a little kid, I think like the first poem that I wrote in first grade was literally called Love, and it was like, love is kind and love is caring, and and that's been a very consistent theme across most of my work, whether that's writing or a visual. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's, love is a universal feeling, but it's also complicated, and it's just something that I think everyone is always trying to understand.
Yeah. Well, because us humans, we love the feeling of being wanted. We love the idea of being desired. We love the idea of knowing that we are someone's, reason to be up and about, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an interesting thing to explore, because as humans, we're very complex creatures. That's the thing. We're very complex. We're fucked up at times, but we're complex. And I think that it's also, love, that sense of love, it starts early, really early. I mean, because, love for attraction for another person, that comes in later, but even love for our family, love for our friends, love, those are feelings that we start feeling at an early age, What's it called? There's that one friend you've got in class, and, you really, really do love that friend. And, you start feeling it, you start growing a bond with them. In other words, the attraction comes in later in different years when we start actually experimenting with the actual definition of the societal definition of love, which is, basically, what's it called, attraction on a romantic level. And it's, I like these movies a lot that you've got in here. I think that they're very interesting, especially that first one. I think that first one's my favorite.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's a lot of people, because it's true, sex is either sin or naive curiosity. It's something that to some people it is just the normal thing that we do, and it is euphoric at times, and sometimes it could just be something to just take your mind off and take the edge off, right? But to other people, it could be some of the most holiest things, and you can't do it until you get married, and it's only for procreation, which, there's a lot of people seem to think that. I don't think that, but, also, I'm not the one to be talking on this. What's it called? I'm not as active as a person as what's it called, as others are, but it's also something interesting to analyze.
No, 100%. And I think, I've always had, very open and honest conversations with all of my friends about what does it mean to have a healthy sexual relationship. And I was also a trained peer educator in high school. And so it's always been something that I had on top of mind. And I've also had a very, evolving outlook on it. And so I think the work that I do reflects that.
Yeah. I think it's important to have a healthy sexual relationship. I think it's also important to talk about that. It's very people think it's so taboo to talk about sex, and especially I think a lot of people think it's taboo to just even show it on screen. We can see someone get gunned down on our movies, but God forbid we see a little bit of a tit on screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that always fascinates me. So I was gonna say that it's interesting that you bring up that college was the years that you really started to formulate your identity, because to me, I always say this: there are two things I love in this world that are the most important things to me. I love movies, and I love being Latino. So, and I say that with having my Mexican flag right in front of me. So that's a thing, and I like that you're kind of the same person over here. You love being Bengali, you love being Bengali American, you love being but most importantly, you love being a Bengali American filmmaker.
Yeah, no, I do. I love being Bengali and Bengali American. There is no amount of pride that is too much for my culture. And I also, am not afraid to call it out on its flaws.
Oh, of course.
So, there are things that I definitely disagree with, and I speak up against. And I've written pieces about it, or I've performed dance productions about it, and that's I think that's our that's the part about living in the hyphen that we sort of have to straddle, because it's it's understanding that you can love your culture, but also be able to make it better, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to keep it how it is.
I think that's what comes with being so prideful of your culture. You have to also understand when your culture is doing something wrong. That's the same thing I tell people. I can love being Latino all I want, but I can call y'all motherfuckers out when you're acting on sentiments that that aren't correct, and we shouldn't be doing this. Like, it's 2019, we should not be thinking this way anymore. We have to kind of be banding together, and it's an important thing that we have to see in our culture, because we can love who we are, but we really have to see when our people are at fault for things, and it's really interesting. It's also very interesting that a lot of when you analyze the root of the problem, seems to always go back to the sentiments that we adopted from the colonial times, colonist times. So it's I think that's something very interesting, because when you kind of dissect that problem and you see where it comes from, and it really is an interesting thing.
Yeah, no, 100%, I agree. Colonialism definitely has had a huge impact across all the nations. I think some of the resistance that first generation children might face is, I'm not like fully Latino, or I'm not fully Bengali, and so is it my place to say anything, because they don't want to be disrespectful, or they might be called disrespectful, but it's you have to sort of stand your ground, and know that you're actually coming from a place of love, because you want to move your culture forward.
Yeah, that's why I always say, there's a lot of pushback with a lot of things that are going on right now, and I kind of remind the one issue that I seem to be seeing the most, the whole prerogative against the term Latinx. People seem to be getting really up in arms about that, like, oh, you're changing our language and stuff. Like, guys, it's not our language. This language is from the Spanish. If it was our language, we'd be talking all our indigenous languages that were kind of erased because of colonialism. So, like, what's the whole prerogative against a freaking term that just got made from a language that isn't even ours? If anything, we have the most right to change this language and make it more adaptive to us. Yeah. And also, if we go back and look at our history, our people didn't believe in only two genders. We actually believed in like 5. That's why there was woman warriors, and that's why there was all these free-spirited people. It's an important thing to kind of see those flaws in our culture and kind of call them out. Like, hey guys, like there's a lot of more important things that we can be fighting against right now. We shouldn't be fighting against each other.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Yeah, and I like that you bring up that thing about the first generation, because that's kind of like when you see the difference in generations there. I mean, it's a different experience for me being Latino, because I can understand my community. I don't understand yours. Like, I never lived a day in yours, so it must be a different thing. So at least in mine, a lot of the people that came over to this country, they had to raise their kids not speaking the language and also not embracing the culture because of their fear of getting bullied. Because in their times, they were being heavily discriminated, and they didn't want their children to go through that, so they kind of had to mask that identity. And it seems that we finally hit that part where we stop masking it, we start embracing it, and it seems that we've done a total 180 shift. And now these new wave of Latin kids coming up, they seem to be the ones who are embracing the identity even more.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's a little bit similar in the South Asian diaspora too, where a lot of us will, you know, reject our brownness and our,
Mm-hmm.
you know, oh, because we have the smelly food and the weird clothing and
Mm-hmm.
but then of course now it's like being appropriated and it's like the trend and it's super cool
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh really, now that it's advantageous to you to be on trend,
Mm-hmm.
now it's also cool to be brown. But so a lot of it is us sort of trying to reclaim our culture again for
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes. Oh, 100%. I love that. Yeah, it's the reclamation. We can't take back the land that was taken from us, but well, God damn it, we're going to take back the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that you bring up the appropriation because, it happens over here too, like just one thing I always have to talk about, what's it called? It's coming up. I always have to remind people the Day of the Dead. It's not Mexican Halloween, guys. It's not. It's a
Yeah.
very indigenous holiday for us. It's our way of celebrating the people that are gone from our lives. And there's a whole fucking movie on this, but somehow there's always people who are, thinking, oh, I'm going to dress up like a Catherine today for Halloween and do the face paint. I'm like, do not do that face paint. No, don't do it. It's not. It's a sacred thing for us. But like you said, it's cool to be brown. It's cool for non people of color to kind of adopt the brown culture and make it theirs because they have a feeling of wanting to substitute their lack of culture.
Yeah, exactly. And you were speaking of Day of the Dead, and it reminded me of Coco.
Yes, yes, that's the movie I'm talking about. There's a whole fucking movie on this.
Phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
It was so good, and yeah, I mean, quite clearly, that holiday is very much about respecting the people who came before you, and it's not Mexican Halloween at all.
No, it's not, and I have to explain that all the time. And what's it called? I tell my friends. I always tell them like, man, I'm seeing all these motherfuckers just getting into these costumes, and I'm getting real. By the way, I'm so sorry. I have a potty mouth, but I like to keep this raw, unhinged, and everything. But what's it called? I always tell them like, I'm seeing everybody starting to dress up and starting to do the face paint, and you're like, it makes me mad. It makes me mad. But I'm also at the point where I don't want to. I'm done trying to educate y'all. Like there are books, there's a fucking movie that explains this. Like, go to that and learn from that. I'm done trying to do it because I've been doing it for years. But it's an interesting thing to see our cultures get appropriated, and that I'm really happy that you tend to concentrate a lot on identity in these movies. I think it's an important thing to concentrate on. And the newest film that you've got coming up, Dawat. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about?
Yeah, so this film is we've been describing it as a love letter to our culture, and it's rich but often flawed in nature, and it basically is an exploration of exactly what we've been talking about, but exploring the intergenerational relationship between a Bengali mom and her daughter, and so in the film, in the short film, the daughter is basically 24 years old, and so we're exploring more of this, this adult relationship between parent and kid, which I think is always much more different and dynamic and interesting than seeing a relationship between a young child and a parent, because that's there's more of a parent is authority figure there. And whereas, as you grow older, you understand your parents better, your parents are trying to understand you better. And there's more of this, a little bit more of a equal playing field. And so the conversations you can have are much more interesting.
Especially in this day and age. I think especially the climate that we're in right now, it's opening a lot of conversations between our cultures and just having those conversations with our past generations. It's the one thing with my parents, it's always like, I've analyzed and really dissected a lot of my parents' upbringing. Some of it was great, some of it was bad. But then again, like, that's kind of what happens when you grow up in poverty. It's tough, and getting out of it is really tough. And my parents, they see this new generation of Latin kids, and instead of being like close to it, they're like, we have to have an open mind. We really do, because what's it called? It's a new generation, and we have to evolve with the times. And I want to say that proof of concept, chef's kiss. I love it. I fucking love it. I love that side scroll shot. It's just amazing. Damn, if you, I'm sorry. Like, for me, I love the technical aspects of film so much as the narrative. So when I see, like a shot that just beautiful, I start obsessing over it for days. And this is one that I'm going to be thinking on my mind for a while. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, that was all due to our incredibly talented cinematographer and director of photography, Chauncey Velasco. He's Filipino.
Awesome.
He's just he's got some crazy talent.
Yeah, when you see him, you tell him I fucking love that shot. You tell him.
I definitely will.
Yeah, so I'm really, really interested in seeing this movie. I think that it's gonna talk a lot on issues that we need to listen to, and I think this will be something that will cross cultures, because a lot of cultures go through the same thing, and I think that that's the interesting thing about your films, that even though they seem to be very grounded and concentrated in one thing, they kind of seem to speak to a lot of people.
Yeah, that was sort of, what we were going for. We wanted it to be a Bengali film in the sense that, we had 100% Bengali cast. Our crew was 40% Bengali, which was an incredible thing that we were able to do. The film is majority in Bangla, with, just, English is very sparse. But that we are putting subtitles on it because we do want it to be accessible, to be consumed by a wider audience who we think will be able to relate to it. Because it's not, although we're showcasing some of the nuances of the Bengali culture, the overarching story is still relatable. And it also, even just the Bengali nuances are things that like people will be like, oh yeah, there's some, we do this in our culture, or we do that. And it's just, being able to connect with that feeling of, I can see myself on the screen.
Yes. And I think that that's really important. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up here, man. So I really don't got to ask the last question I always ask, because I already know what's coming in the future. You're doing the Wee Gala and you're doing the Dawat. So that, I already kind of went through that already. So I kind of just want to talk about, what's it called? Where the people can find you, and just give people how can I say, just a tease of what's to come.
Sure. Yeah.
Anything you've got in the works that I haven't, talked about?
I think we actually really did cover it. Yeah. The gala's on December 5th. Something that actually I am excited about that we didn't talk about is basically we call him the founding father of Bangladesh. He was assassinated a few years after Bangladesh became an independent country, and 2020 is basically March 17th, 2020 will be would have been his 100th birthday. And so, I'm basically involved in a project to celebrate 100 years of his life. Which we're really, really excited about, because we're going to be putting on a performance that like brings to life all of his like writings through like prison and his speeches and just his life from childhood to adulthood. But yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So guys, go and check out all these things that Suswana is working on. Catch her on Amanda's videos. She's always coming out, and I love it. Go Go and check her out. Suswana, do that podcast, girl. I want to see that comedy podcast between you and Amanda. You know, it would be fun. Even if it's just a weekly thing, do it. It's.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about it more. Yeah, definitely, yes. 100%. We're convinced that we would be talking about some crazy stuff. But yeah,
you're sitting on a fucking gold mine. I'm telling you, you're sitting on a fucking gold mine. Because all those videos you're in together, I'm laughing my ass off. So. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
I'm so happy that I had you here. Can you go ahead and tell the people where they can find you on the internet?
Yes, you can find me at Suswana _Sohini, SOHINEE, on Instagram. And yeah, I mean that's basically my main channel. So yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and follow her on Instagram. And we're going to do a little Patreon section after this, and hopefully the Patreon supporters are going to have a fun time with it. So that one should be like around 15 minutes. So we're doing good on time. I don't want to make you late for the train. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the housekeeping section here. I got to go ahead and get all this stuff out. So, excuse me, I do not want to burp into the mic. Without further ado, let me go ahead and get this stuff out of the way. So, if you want to support the show more directly, the feed itself, guys, the brand, go to patreon.com/nerdcore. We've got a lot of amazing things that are riding on phase 3 of the brand, and we want to do a lot of great things, and a lot of it are riding on our support that we're getting on Patreon. So we need one more supporter to do this new thing we're kind of trying to do. It's a comic book club where we read comic books and we talk about them on Patreon with y'all. So we're doing all these amazing things, and we want to go to Sundance Film Festival. We want to go to Toronto. We want to do all these amazing things, but we really got to get the help on Patreon to do it, and we got to basically grow the brand a lot this year, this phase. So, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But we're gonna do amazing things either way if we don't get to go to Sundance or Toronto. But you all go to patreon.com/nerdcore. The supporters we have already are just amazing people, and we love them a lot. Especially our producers. You gotta love the associate producers, Cassie and Sarah. You're amazing people. We love you for your patronage, and just keep being the great people that you are. Our executive producers are $15 tier members. We love them as well. Grayson, who you can follow on Twitter at WarlordHitman98, and on Instagram at GraysonBarker98. Shane, we love you too, buddy. You're an executive producer as well. You can go watch and play video games at twitch.tv/SRRKK, and you can follow him on Twitter at SRRKK Twitch. So, also, if you want to go get merchandise, you can get a sticker of this show at teespring.com, www.teespring.com/store/thenerdcore. Go and check it out, guys. You can get Brad's face on a hoodie, or you can get the show's sticker, or you can get the Two Latin Lovers shirt. That's for the Nerdy Chicano show, of course, because there's only 2 Latin lovers in this brand. That's me and Luis. So we've got the Twitter. Go and follow us on Twitter, the Nerdcore _ Instagram, the Nerdcore. And also, join the Facebook group, the Nerdverse, the official Nerdcore group. We talk about, nerd stuff, nerd culture. We have a fun time with it. And also check out the website, thenerdcore.com. Check out our reviews of movies we're seeing and stuff like that. You know, we do a lot of cool stuff on the website. So go and check it out. You can find all the wonderful stuff about us there. And you can go check out our YouTube as well, where we started to upload a lot of our old content on there. We're doing our back catalog on YouTube, and we're uploading other cool stuff. I might be watching a movie this week, so I might be making a new movie review for YouTube. So keep an eye on that. If it doesn't happen, it will definitely happen next week. Cross your fingers, I get to watch The Lighthouse. I'm looking forward to that one a lot. So, without further ado, we're done here, Suswana. Thank you so much for being on here with me, and we're gonna go ahead and head on into the Patreon section.
Awesome, thank you so much.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for the listens on the last episode. It was a pleasure talking to RB3. The After Hours episode with RB3 is already up, so you guys should be listening to that. So, without further ado, the file is closed but not classified, my friends, and we'll see you on the next one.